Chapter 10. To the ARK is a generational disaster. If I had to create a list of media that is emblematic of everything you should never ever do when writing a story, To the ARK is the reason why Dark Beginnings would easily crack the top 20. If you don't believe me, then wait. So, as we know, Shadow is the result of a government experiment commissioned by G.u.N to create the ultimate life form. And for whatever reason, which we'll get to, they decide to shut the project down and—
They storm the ARK, destroy all evidence.
That. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't we already cover this information in one way or the other back in Dark Beginnings episode 1? So why are we relitigating this now for seemingly no reason? Now that is a great question that you should direct toward Ian Flynn.
So, G.u.N funded the research that created you, and when they got you, they sealed you away for 50 years.
What a way to begin an episode. It's rare for the very first thing to happen in a piece of media to be such an unmitigated flusterduck right out of the gate, but you really should have already known what we were in for by this point. Episode 1 was attempting to recount Shadow and Maria's friendship and the tragedy of the ARK. It didn't do that particularly well, but it did do it. And episode 2 was attempting to reintroduce the Black Arms, Rouge, and Omega, and their respective relationships with Shadow. It also didn't do that particularly well, but it did do those things in one of the worst ways it possibly could have. If the uninitiated members of the audience needed to know Shadow's backstory up front, which is not a bad idea in and of itself, then the information that
G.u.N funded the research that created you, and when they got you, they sealed you away for 50 years.
Yeah, that should have been in episode 1. You know, the episode that was devoted to relitigating Shadow's backstory in the ARK and the disaster that ended that chapter of his life. You could have cut the flipping minute and a half wasted on irrelevant Emerald nonsense and devoted it to conveying Shadow's imprisonment, but no. Let's just have it so that Rouge goes,
"Hello, Shadow. Allow me to tell you your backstory."
Because clearly the only way to convey character motives, backstory, and their identities is by having the characters themselves or others around them say what and who they are out loud without any room for nuance or ambiguity. Freaking goodness, do I need to start a counter for this? Screw it, counter. Tell, don't show. Do you have any idea what would happen if we conveyed character information and what they value by showing it through characters taking actions? The whole world would explode. Crying out loud, this is writing 101, Ian. You've been doing this for longer than I've been alive. Why are you like this? My favorite part about this line Rouge says is the context that exists within, which is to say the lack of context that exists within, because Ian and everyone else here are somehow under the impression that the characters, their interactions in the world they live in just stop existing whenever the camera cuts away. If it is off screen, that it doesn't exist. Rouge tells everyone they're going to raid a gun base. Then we smash cut to her telling Shadow his own backstory in the middle of raiding said gun base, because the pacing of the edit had to be hyperactive too. Without context, it just looks like Rouge is bringing up Shadow's extreme past trauma in conversation at random for no reason while they're in the middle of infiltrating a base and setting off explosions.
Like, I know we're in the middle of battle, but remember that past trauma where everyone you knew and loved was massacred and you were shoved into a cold dark box for half a century? I mean, I didn't experience any of that, but it must have sucked, I guess.
What? Sorry, Rouge, I couldn't hear you over all of the explosions we're making. Like, why are we talking about this now? Why bring this up at all?
My point is, don't get too caught up on any vendettas tonight.
What?
Ian, you're gonna give me an aneurysm at this rate.
Oh, my mistake. Rouge wasn't bringing up Shadow's past trauma at random solely to exposit backstory information to the audience in the most clumsy and immersion-breaking way possible. No, she was actually reiterating it to give context with the following statement where she tells Shadow to keep his cool and not exact vengeance against G.u.N. You know, the organization both of them and Omega work for willingly and have since the Black Comet exploded. I don't think I'm gonna like where this is going, am I?
G.u.N is not my enemy tonight, just an obstacle in my way.
Yeah, I figured as much. This is what we in the business like to call broken dialogue. Let us have a very basic lesson in English. I didn't think this was going to be necessary. Writers should at the very least know how their native languages work, but I guess that's expecting too much in the current year. If I told you that so-and-so is not my enemy, that would convey that I am friends or at the very least on good/neutral terms with them. This is not hard to grasp. However, if I were to state that so-and-so is not my enemy right now, that addendum would convey a very different meaning. It would single-handedly change the meaning of the entire statement, wouldn't it? Because now I would be stating that I am not on good/neutral terms with them, but that I have bigger things to worry about, so I'm putting my animosity with so-and-so aside for now until the current situation is resolved. Usually, most people don't refer to their employers as not being their enemy right at this moment because usually most people don't want to get fired, but also because if you work for someone, that is because your goals and interests are aligned with theirs, unless you're some kind of spy or saboteur. But I don't know why I am assuming that Shadow works for G.u.N. It's not like that was established canon for 18 years as of 2024 or anything. But Shadow doesn't just say that his employer is his enemy, but just not right now. He also says this.
G.u.N is not my enemy tonight, just an obstacle in my way.
You see, G.u.N is the one thing that stands between Shadow and saving the world.
If that's the case, despite all that's passed between us, he should have known I would have supported him if he asked.
Whoa, I have no idea how that clip ended up there. I swear that this storyline can't make up its mind on anything. Either G.u.N is an obstacle to Shadow saving the world, or there are a bunch of guys willing to lend a helping hand. You cannot have them be both, because then you make Shadow look like a flipping, selfish, mentally and morally deranged jackwagon.
I wonder if that's going to become a recurring theme.
Having Shadow, Rouge, and Omega all work for G.u.N was a compelling dynamic. The other teams in Sonic are a lot more ragtag. They have resources, yeah, but it's only the stuff they can carry around with them. Making Team Dark G.u.N agents allowed them to conduct more organized operations, and it opened up story possibilities that weren't available to the others. It also made them subject to organizational politics, an idea that I feel has been severely underutilized. His joining of the organization even informed Shadow's character a lot, putting his past with G.u.N aside and joining forces with the president and the commander who build a brighter future or something, as alluded to at the end of Shadow 05's last story and within the dialogue of the expert missions. And it contrasted him with Sonic. I don't think the blue boy would be caught dead working for the government full time. It made an obvious distinction between the obviously physically identical rivals. I will never let that go, Bekawa. So I don't know why anyone would decide to retcon or ignore all of that. But Sonic 06 retconned itself for the timeline. So of course Shadow and Omega were never G.u.N agents. Are you an idiot? I'm not an idiot. I'm the hypothetical. You know that's not what... Oh my God. But Sonic 06 implies that Shadow, Rouge, and Omega joined G.u.N way before the events of 06, presumably right after Shadow 05. I would just like to clarify to you, apparently, that what got erased at the end of 06 was the Solaris project, because Elise extinguished the flame right before the tragedy happened 10 years ago. I know that decades of time travel stories have conditioned us to accept completely random events and consequences happening because of butterflies or something, but the idea that the Duke of Soliana and everyone in the aquatic base not dying 10 years ago somehow led to Shadow and Omega not becoming G.u.N agents after Shadow 05 and no other notable changes to the timeline is very dumb. Next thing you're going to tell me is that erasing the Solaris project is responsible for every other inconsistency in the Sonic canon. Also, I could have sworn that Team Dark were G.u.N agents during Sonic Forces episode Shadow, even though they were not allowed to say or mention those 3 letters for no discernible reason. This is stupid. And when Dark Beginnings first came out, I placed my bets on it not being Ian's fault because I wouldn't have ever thought he'd want to retcon Team Dark's allegiance, given how many stories he squeezed out of Team Dark Agents of G.u.N during the Archie comic days. But now I don't... I don't know what is going on or what it even is real. So, just for a second, like we did with the moon and the time meter schematics, let's jump ahead and begin some anachronistic dissectioning. And for those of you familiar with Shadow Generations, you know exactly where this is going. So, say it with me. I already told you. Gun detected unusual biosignatures aboard the ARK, and I'm not leaving until I eliminate any possible threat. Where does one even start with this? In our beginnings, Shadow hates Gun and would never work for them. Because of this, he does not ask them for help and steals one of their ships to achieve his goal. But in Shadow Generation, Shadow says that Gun was the one who alerted him about Black Doom's situation. Then he's investigated the ARK on their behalf willingly, almost as if he works for them. But there I go assuming things that are completely reasonable to assume again. Like, is there just no communication between teams? Did the teams behind the prologue and the game have completely different agendas for where they want the character of Shadow to be? Is this another instance of the never-ending warring politics between American Sonic and Japanese Sonic rearing their ugly head again? Did Sonic Team hand Ian Flynn a memo when telling him to do Dark Beginnings that said, Black Doom is back and he's regenerating in the ARK. Get Shadow to the ARK with no other information to prevent contradicting what the games writer was going to do? Hey, who's the games writer again? Oh yeah, it's Ian Flynn. So I guess Ian Flynn and Ian Flynn are not on speaking terms, and therefore they refuse to exchange notes. And somehow no one noticed this gaping hole of discrepancy in the narrative and continuity before they said go on the production. The Sonic lore team doing a bang up job, as to be expected of them. Keep up the amazing work, guys. Don't ever change a single thing, because everything is great, perfect. Now, I'm used to different entries in this franchise contradicting each other. You know, it regrettably happens in long-running franchises that pass their torches to new storytellers. Did I get annoyed when the moon got unblowed up? Did I get annoyed when everyone's personality and development got ping-ponged around non-stop? Did I get annoyed when the Chaos Emeralds went from being a part of Gaia and Earth since the beginning to arriving from space 4,000 years ago? No! I will never get over that! Did I get annoyed when Blaze and Dr. Eggman Nega both independently went from being from an alternate universe to being from Silver's future, then back to being from said other dimension again, but also from Silver's future again? And did I get annoyed when many other dumb contradictions, trust me, I don't have the time to list them all, happened?
Yes.
But that can easily be headcanoned away by saying, well, every Sonic game actually takes place in its own universe 4 degrees from the left of the others in the multiverse. Is such an explanation ideal or even preferable?
No.
But it's what I've had to resort to in order to not lose my flipping sanity. Like I've said, I am used to different media projects in this franchise irrevocably contradicting each other. But 2 pieces of media within a singular media project, both written by the same man during the same window of time, irrevocably contradicting each other, is definitely new to me and infinitely more frustrating. And yes, it is an objective problem when a self-proclaimed prologue has nothing to do with the thing it's attached to. And trust me when I say that this one line is not the only incongruity between Dark Beginnings and the game. Heck, even the journal gets on the fun. Same people call it false advertising because I was promised that Dark Beginnings would mean and lead up to something, only for that said something to go,
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
So why did I even bother watching Dark Beginnings if it wasn't going to matter at all? Actually, we're definitely going to put a pin in this too. Hey, remember when way back at the beginning of this, like part 1 beginning of this, when I said Ian Flynn is the sole credited writer for the entire Shadow Gen's enterprise? Now, that can't possibly be the case. The storyline this nonsensical, poorly structured, self-contradictory, and infuriating only happens when there are too many mutually exclusive cooks in the kitchen. This is one of the many reasons why, because if that isn't the case, then the only other explanations I can think of are that Ian Flynn just doesn't care anymore, or he has dementia, and neither are particularly flattering explanations. Okay. Is Totes not a gun agent? Gun is not his enemy to ToooonIGHT tells people their own backstories for no reason. Chapter 11. Rouge's plan is even dumber, stupider, and Baderer.
Alright, boys, here's the plan to get Shadow to the ARK. Step 1, we blow up the gun hunters and beetles inside the base.
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't step 1 describe how we enter the base? Don't they have radars, defenses, and failsafes?
You see, it's just
Off-screen.
Shut up, it doesn't matter.
This is going to be one of those plans, isn't it?
What was that?
Nothing!
So we make 2 explosions the size of 3-story buildings.
Wait, why? Aren't there gun personnel there? I thought we were the good guys. Last time I checked, good guys don't kill innocent people or put them into danger for no reason. Unless tricking them into planting a bomb on their own person that can easily go off at any time, thus killing them and any number of other innocent bystanders for no strategic reason or benefit, because that would be fine. You know, the funny part is that's not even a joke. The storyline goes places you're not ready for.
Don't be silly, Shadow. Explosions don't kill people. And there are also no human personnel because everything is automated now, I guess. At least that's what I assume the explanation is. Everything's so ambiguous and nondescript.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Anyway, so we go up the elevator.
Sorry, the one we just set up 2 explosions next to?
Guys, you have to stop interrupting. This is important. So the second step of the plan is that I'm going to tell Shadow to not get caught up in any of his vendettas against Gun.
What vendettas? We patched things up. We flipping work together. Oh yeah, I hate guns so much.
Then I hack into a terminal to prepare a shuttle for launch.
Wait, we're doing all of this for a shuttle? I mean, I don't mind blowing things up, but wouldn't it be more effective to just ask for it since we're on good terms with the commander?
Ask for the ship?
That's a good one, Omega.
Anyway, before I can finish setting up the launch, a gun officer will have had enough time to deploy and pilot a Blue Falcon to our position at Mission Control.
A Blue Falcon? As in one? Why wouldn't there be more? At first you said it was okay to explode things because all the security are robots, but now there are human personnel?
But Omega, it's the Blue Falcon! Remember the Blue Falcon from Shadow 05? Wasn't it so cool? It's back! Clap like a seal because it's the thing from the thing that you know! Thank you, Dopamine!
Starting things out of mouthfuls is not worth celebration in and of itself.
Now, you two will distract and disable the aircraft while I prepare the shuttle's launch. Oh, and be sure to cause as much collateral damage and explosion near the buildings and scaffolding as possible.
Wait, isn't the integrity of those structures important for launching shuttles safely?
But the fight won't look as cool without the explosions. And don't you want your rematch with the Blue Falcon to look cool, Shadow?
Isn't preparing the mission for success and saving the world more important than the fight looking cool?
If you wanted to prepare the mission for success, you would just ask for the freaking ship! Need I remind you that the reason we're doing this is because Shadow believes the Black Arms have returned? If another invasion is imminent, we need to be allied with a gun at full strength to defend the Earth, stabbing them in the freaking back, wasting valuable time fighting defenses in battle, blowing up one of their spaceports left destabilizing their surface-to-base network, and dispersing their resources and attention isn't just counterproductive, it's downright stupid!
Sorry, what was that? It was like you were speaking, but no words were coming out.
Yeah, you were just speaking gibberish.
Why do we even bother with these flashbacks?
So, after Shadow defeats the Blue Falcon, I set up the ship for launch, and Shadow gets in all by his lonesome.
Wait, what? The two of us aren't coming with?
Of course not. I can't come, because someone has to oversee the launch of the command center.
That wouldn't be an issue if we just freaking asked for the ship as is protocol.
And I have more important things to attend to than saving the world from the return to space Hitler Satan and his alien space fascists. Namely, a birthday party.
A birthday party is more important than helping me save the world?
Look, just The storyline was written into a corner because we're running around the fact that I have to attend the birthday party at the beginning of Sonic Generation, so I can't come. I have no choice in the matter. It's just how it is.
I don't know. I think Mr. Flynn had many other options as to have you still attend the party while not damaging your character for no reason. He could have had Shadow leave you in the dark as to what was going on, or have you injured during the Blue Falcon fight, thus necessitating you sitting the mission out. His hands were tied behind his back. He had options. Don't blindly make excuses for him.
Omega, could you please shut up?
And hold on, I didn't attend the party in Sonic Generations at all. So why does that mean I have to stay behind?
Because this prologue was written after the game's story was finalized, and you aren't on the arc at the beginning of the story.
That's not an explanation! What is the reason I can't go with him?
Because you have a very important role I have yet to tell you.
Fine. I'm listening.
You see, before the ship launches, I need you to get inside the command with me before the last shields go down, so that when the facility's defenses go back online, you'll be stuck inside the command center with me, and you'll be unable to disable the turret shooting Shadow's shuttle down.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Wait, hold on. If Omega can't disable the turret shooting my shuttle down, what are we going to do then?
Well, don't you worry, because out of the blue, Commander Tower will show up into the room while neither of us are looking and give the voice-activated command to save the day and to deactivate all of the turret.
Wait! If Commander Tower is there, and is there for the entire operation, then what happens if he dies in one of the explosions you're planning on setting up for no reason?
Stop poking holes in my plan, Omega!
You see, I was all up for your plan up until the part where you said that we have to rely on a blind luck coincidence for me to not die. This is suspiciously starting to sound more like a plan to get me killed, cripple Gun's interstellar defense infrastructure, and doom the Earth to a second Black Arms invasion for no reason.
Shadow, don't be ridiculous. I'm your friend. I'd never steer you wrong.
2 hours later.
What were you three thinking?
It was Shadow. He did it. It was all his idea.
Give me strength. I would have just given you the shuttle if you had asked.
I told you!
I swear this script was written by a 5-year-old with crayons. Oh, what's that? You wanted commentary? I don't know. I feel that skit summed up everything pretty well. General stupidity, character assassination on multiple counts, action for the sake of action, spectacle over substance, etc. There's a reason why back in 2024 I called this the bad episode. Character notes. Next chapter. I just can't even. 6-7. Or is that not a thing anymore? Next thing, cut! Well, okay, you're still here. Fine. I guess I'll give you some commentary. Admittedly, I couldn't cram all of my criticisms into that skit format. The biggest problem with the plan is that it's a plan to steal and launch a space shuttle. They could just ask to borrow it, but no! They had to steal it, because stealing a space shuttle, putting military personnel in mortal danger, and causing the destruction of millions of taxpayer-funded assets is totally a thing that the government and Commander Tower will just overlook and go, oh, silly you. What's this? Sonic characters being portrayed as careless, out-of-character imbeciles? In a script written by Ian Flynn?
What an unwelcome and completely predictable surprise.
Surely you are beginning to understand the extent of my disappointment now. And again, I still don't know why the space transporters aren't an option that Team Dark use, or even consider. You could just type some coordinates and be on your way. It's much easier, more convenient, and far less problematic than stealing and launching an entire space shuttle. But there I go, assuming that space transporters exist again. Silly me. Object permanence. Not in Ian Flynn's Sonic universe, there isn't. Speaking of object permanence, it is time to address the Omega in the room. In episode 2, Omega shows up, shouts,
"Face me, inferior models."
and then he fights a bunch of robots in the background of shots. Then the egg breaker enters the battle and Omega says,
I call dibs.
and explodes the egg breaker's knee with his guns. And then he disappears from the episode. He got lost in the edit, I suppose. Then in episode 3, Omega shows up, dismantles some gun hunters, shakes a limb off his leg in a blink and you'll miss it moment that actually made me chuckle unironically for one. Then Omega says the exact same line of
I call dibs
in both episodes. It's literally the same clip, the same take of Roger Craig Smith's performance.
I call dibs. I call dibs.
I don't know how blunders like this happen. Was everyone asleep at the wheel? Then Omega fires some rounds to counter the Blue Falcon's missiles. Shadow catches the last one that Omega misses, and then continues attacking it as Omega gets lost in the edit, I guess. Again, apparently he didn't feel like destroying that contraption because he just stood around for a solid minute doing nothing while Shadow did all of the work.
I wanted to destroy it.
Oh, so he did want to fight and destroy it. So why didn't he participate in the fight? Hey, have I mentioned that all of the dialogue is broken yet? Do I need to keep reminding you guys that just because something is off screen does not mean that it ceases to exist? Then Omega does the aforementioned thing where he locks himself into the command room for no reason, thus preventing him from taking out those guns. I mean, that doesn't stop Rouge from assuming that he can for some reason.
Omega, hurry! You have to take out those guns!
Because we also need to have Rouge state aloud without any room for nuance or ambiguity that she is really stupid with 3 oohs in them. Okay, that's not entirely fair because Omega isn't much better. For starters, I don't know why he entered the commander room in the first place. Why couldn't he have just stayed outside so he could prevent the easily foreseeable consequence of their actions?
Well, he couldn't be the one to do that. That's Commander Tower's job. We have to give him something to do, or else people might start asking why he's even here.
I mean, I'm beginning to ask the question of why Omega is even here.
I'm just not so sure how well this plan was thought through.
Omega then sees the alerts. Then a full 10 seconds later, Rouge tells him to take out the guns. And the entire time he is standing like a flipping deer in the headlights. I know that the blast shields are up, but nothing is stopping you from running up to them, crowbarring your digits under them, then lifting one of the panels high enough to exit the room and take out the turrets. You have options, Omega. Don't just stand frozen solid for 20 seconds. Yes, I counted. You can really tell that Omega and Shadow are the bestest of friends and that Omega really cares about him. I love that Omega's contribution to this narrative is to do funny yelling, call dibs, fire a few token attacks in an action sequence, and then to stop doing attacks for no reason, get lost in the edit, only to stand in the background doing and saying nothing for the rest of the episode. And that role was so important in episode 2 that for episode 3, Ian had Omega repeat all of that verbatim, and I can't believe that that statement is in no way hyperbole. Omega is useless, and every time I see him throughout this storyline, I can't help but ask myself the question, why is he here again? And I feel that sums up my thoughts on Omega's inclusion pretty succinctly. Trust me when I say that it isn't going to get any better. But that's enough about Omega. Now it's time to briefly rip Shadow a new one. Let me ask a hypothetical question. Oh crap! Okay, he didn't show up when I said that. Anyway, if someone were to plant a bomb on a police car while an officer is inside it, and then open the door and grab the officer, dragging them out of the car before it explodes, do you think that they should get credit for saving the officer's life despite the fact that the bomber was the reason the officer was going to die in the first place? Personally, I feel that is a quite obvious, unequivocal no. But what do I know? I'm not genius superstar comic writer Ian Flynn, now am I? Okay. Oh my gosh. Is stupid. Loves enacting unnecessary friendly fire and shooting himself in the foot for no reason. Broke his promises to the press and Abe, and also Maria by extension. If only this was an isolated incident. Is really stupid. stupid. She can't come with. She's busy. Has bizarre B-Day priorities. Thinks Omega can take out guns while wrapped in a metal cage. Is super duper lucky. Is also totes not a gun agent. Calls dibs. No, wait. He lost interest. No, wait. He totes wanted to destroy that. Okay. He can't come. He's busy. Yep. He sure is in the room. Oh, he locked himself in the room for no reason. Is a helpless deer in the headlights when his bestie is about to be freaking blown out of the sky. New character. Blue Falcon Pilot. Did nothing wrong. Chapter 12. Abraham Tower is a spineless coward.
Getting to canonize Abraham Tower as the official name for the gun commander must be a surreal full circle moment for you. Was it as simple as asking to finally give the commander that cool Archie callback?
Yes and no, because I wanted to finally give him a name if we were going to utilize him in any meaningful way. If he never shows up again, then, you know, at least he got that period put at the end of that sentence.
This is Commander Abraham Tower. All forces stand down.
Man, where do we even begin with Commander Tower's inclusion in this storyline? First of all, yes, I am grateful that the commander is no longer named Commander. I cannot state enough how much giving him an actual name is an improvement. And it is nice to see anything from the Archie days get acknowledged, in any capacity whatsoever, after almost a decade. I'm so depressed. The name thing, I have no issue with. No critiques. That's fine. The problem is with everything else.
Abe, I brought that intel you requested.
And aided in the destruction of millions in gun assets.
Yeah, Rouge, why did you guys do this?
Sorry, but Shadow needed some help saving the world.
That is not an answer to the question. And then Tower says,
if that's the case, despite all that's passed between us, he saved the world from Black Doom. He should have known I would have supported him if he asked.
Because, like, I don't know why Ian felt the need to write and keep in a line that serves the sole purpose of stating aloud without any room for nuance or ambiguity that all three members of Team Dark are a unique variety of special. Like, there comes a point where a writer pulls crap like this so often you have to start assuming that they're assassinating characters and ruining the franchise on purpose. But what do I know? I'm just a hater, apparently.
When has Shadow ever asked for permission?
Great, so now Rouge isn't just an idiot for no reason, she's also a terrible person and friend. Amazing! She hears Shadow's worries during episode 2, then suggests they steal government property from their own employers for no reason. And then when she gets caught after almost getting Shadow killed, I mean, he probably would have survived those rockets, he is the ultimate life form. She tells Commander Tower that the whole thing was Shadow's idea, even though it was literally hers.
When has Shadow ever asked for permission? Now then, interested in raiding a gun base? When has Shadow ever asked for permission?
Long sigh.
You could have talked him down, Rouge.
There's only one person who could ever do that.
true. She was lost to us long time ago.
Sorry guys, what? Amy's not dead. She's about to go to Sonic's park. Wait, hold on. That's not how I remember that animation looking. I'm joking, but still. Maria isn't the only person capable of talking Shadow down. Rouge has even done that. Twice. As always, this line sounds super deep and meaningful as long as you don't think about it for any amount of time. And then we cut away dramatically in the middle of a conversation in a vain attempt to trick the audience from noticing that the conversation between Rouge and Tower is in no flipping way over. If this keeps happening, we're gonna have to start another counter, aren't we? Just to recap this conversation.
Hello, Abe. I did that thing you told me to do.
Yes, now explain why you blew up this facility, assaulted by men, who are your comrades, by the way, and stole a space shuttle. Those things are expensive, you know. They don't grow on trees.
Well, the world needed saving.
That wasn't anywhere near a satisfying answer to my question, but I will acknowledge that fact because I am really stupid. But you know that I would have given Shadow the ship if you would ask for it, right?
Well, when did Shadow ever ask for permission?
That wasn't an answer to my question. You keep doing this thing where you do not answer the flipping thing that you are asked. And even if Shadow was dead set on getting himself and the two of you dishonorably discharged, you still could have talked him down, you ingrate.
Well, Maria was the only person who could ever do that.
Actually, you're right. My apologies. You three won't be punished or prosecuted for this major breach of conduct and trust whatsoever. You're free to do whatever you want, effective immediately. Hey, remember why the commander had a vendetta against Shadow? Yeah, it was because he thought Shadow was a monster responsible for all the deaths during the ARK disaster. But judging by the fact that he made it up the ranks to become the head of G.u.N, I'm going to hazard a guess that the reason why he hated Shadow wasn't just because he believed a lie that made things personal, but also because he values the lives of people and wishes to maintain justice against those who do wrong. So when Team Dark decides to disregard the lives of his men and put them in danger, again, I can't stress this enough, for no reason, surely he wouldn't just let them off the hook. Surely he would be more than upset. Surely these rash and extreme actions would justify some kind of proportionate response. So the fact that none of this treachery and betrayal leads to any consequences is farcical. Tell me you have no idea how the military works without telling me you have no idea how the military works. And yes, these actions are tantamount to a betrayal. It does not matter if Team Dark were doing this to save the world, because they didn't need to do any of this. They did not remotely exhaust their list of options, and this is important because if they had just told Tower what was going on by Dark Beginnings' own admission, they wouldn't have had to do any of this. And telling the commander of G.u.N, who is the leader of global security against alien threats, about the incoming arrival of a returning alien threat in all respects would be Team Dark's moral obligation. So I don't know why they are keeping all this from him and never tell him once what is happening. Also, this is a universe where mind control, brainwashing, shape-shifting, and lifelike android replicas exist. And yet Tower suspect none of those when Team Dark decides to take the most irresponsible and out-of-character action imaginable. But when we get to the main game, surely Tower's role will continue, and he'll have plenty of time to... What was that? He's not in the game at all? What do you mean he's not in the game? Also, Rouge must be so competent that G.u.N recruited her despite the fact that she is an ex-criminal. But also she is so stupid and impulsive that she is a liability who causes stunts like this unprompted. In case you are wondering, that is a personality matrix that does not exist. We're almost done with Dark Beginnings. We're almost done with the flipping 15-minute webisode prologue. You can do this. Okay, last one. Would have helped Shadow if he had asked. Is a doormat. Throws her bestie under the bus to save her rep. Fantastic. Forgot that she talked down Shadow herself multiple times, or she is lying to Abe by obscuring securing that info. Why did she do all this? Omega has nothing to say whatsoever.